لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, I had no idea I had to come speak here. I thought there was free food. But inshallah, I'll speak to you for a little bit, and I think I'd like to spend more of our time hearing from you, getting some of your questions, some of your thoughts. I'll just share with you some things that have been on my mind since I've been here. For those of you who don't know, I've been here for over a month, just hanging out. And I was taking a course here at May 29 University, and I had an opportunity to study with some really fantastic teachers and just interact normally instead of doing any programs, lectures. You know, every time somebody recognized me, they kind of got suspicious. Is that really you? And so they'd ask, are you? I said, yes, it is Mufti May, yes. And then, but I've gathered a lot of thoughts since I've been here, particular to Turkey, particular to Istanbul, and I wanted to share some of those thoughts with you, inshallah. And then some things that I've been thinking about in terms of my study of the Quran. And then I'd like to open it up to anything that may be on your mind, inshallah. So the first thing that I noticed from, coming as an outsider, coming as a foreigner to Turkey, is that it's a really exciting place for Muslims from around the world to meet. I actually met scholars from many different parts of the world over the course of this last month. And of course, even the program that I was attending, even though it was a very limited program, there were students from 15 different countries that were here. And in many ways, this has become a place of hope and a place of cultural connection for Muslims from around the world, especially Muslims that live as a minority. So when Muslims live in Sweden or Norway, or Muslims live in America or Canada or Australia, those lives are very different. But one of the common threads is that Muslims feel weak and disconnected from the rest of society. And they have to fight to feel like they are a part of that society. So, one of the great struggles, for example, there's a lot of Turkish community in Germany. It's a very large Turkish community in Germany, and an Albanian community, other communities too. One thing about the Germans is you're only German if you're German, right? So there are families that are Turkish families that have lived there for over 100 years, and their grandkids have been born in Germany. They barely speak any Turkish, they only speak German. But the Germans only see them as Turks. They don't see them as Germans. So they don't feel like they belong. And that's the reality in many, many parts of Europe. It's a little bit different in the United States. In the United States, you could be any color under the sun, and you're just American. It's just how, I know the media portrays things differently, but that's not the culture in the United States. The European culture is far more segregated than American culture. But one of the things that I know as a minority, when people come here, myself, others, even younger students, when they come here, they feel a strange sense of connection, and we're part of a strong Muslim society here, right? So that's one big difference that you notice here. The other thing you notice here is you have every flavor of Muslim in Turkey. So you have people that are very committed to their religion, and you'll see hijabs on the street and everything else, and you'll see people that are, forget not wearing hijab, they're not wearing much else either, and that's okay too. It's an open society. If you want to practice your religion, you can. If you don't want to practice your religion, that's your choice, right? And particularly for myself, I know some people might find this controversial. I do believe that Allah gave us a religion. One of its principles is la ikraha fi din. There's no forcing in the religion. There's no compulsion in the religion. So the people that are practicing their religion here, they're not practicing it because of a government policy. They're not practicing it because it's illegal to not wear hijab and you can go get in trouble. And they're not praying because if you don't pray, then there's going to be a penalty, or everybody's going to get upset with you, etc. So actually, even the younger generation here and the people here that are practicing their religion, they're practicing it because they're convinced of their religion. And that's even if they're not in massive, massive numbers, or 99% of society is that way, the fact that they exist in that way is actually very powerful. I'll compare this to another country, a country that I know something about. I'm from Pakistan. So Pakistan is also a free society. in many ways. You can be whatever you want to be in Pakistan also, but it comes at a price. So there are places in Pakistan that are more conservative, and there are places in Pakistan that are big cities that are more open and things like that, right? But if you come from a conservative part of town, or you live in certain neighborhoods, then you can get in a lot of trouble for not being conservative. Or you can get in a lot of trouble for being religious if you're in a conservative part of town, right? So there's a level of intolerance. And I know that there are some tensions even here. I know that. I know that some of you, for example, a lot of women in the audience that wear hijab may face some consequences for their hijab, even in Turkey, even in the workplace, even in university, even in research work, et cetera, you might face that, right? So, but still there's a strong presence here. So the idea that we're ever going to have a society that will never have any challenges is unrealistic. And somebody asked me, interestingly, somebody asked me just on the last day of our program, they were from Australia, and things are difficult for Muslims in Australia. They said, what do you think about making hijrah from the West and just moving to a Muslim country? And I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know why you would think this way. Well, because I just want to be in a more Islamic environment. And so I had to step back and share something. All of the prophets in the Quran, all of them, they lived most of their life in hostile environments. They did not live in Islamic environments. They lived in un-Islamic environments. When the Prophet ﷺ moved to Medina, Medina was not an Islamic environment. Medina was actually an extremely, by today's standards, it was more liberal than liberal. That's what Medina was. And the Prophet ﷺ did not come and change the entire typography of Medina. Some of the crazy things that were happening in Medina were still happening in Medina. Stuff was still going on. But Islam was also operating in Medina.